the dungeons dark and strong, the wretch's destiny. Macpherson's time will no be lang by yonder gallows tree. Say rantingly, say wantingly, say dauntingly gave he. He played a tune and he danced around below the gallows tree. It was by a woman's treacherous hand that I was condemned to die. She stood upon a windy ledge and a blanket threw over me. Oh, what is death but parting breath on many a bloody plain? I dealt his face, and in this place I scorn him yet again. Say rantingly, say wantingly, say dauntingly gave he. He played a tune and he danced around below the gallows tree. Untie these bands from off my hands and bring me to my sword. There's no man in our Scotland, but I'll brave him at a word. I've lived a life of sturt and strife, I die by treachery. It burns my heart that I must depart and not avenged be. Now fair we light the sunshine bright, and all beneath the sky. Make coward shame to stain his name, the wretch that dares not be. Say rantingly, say wantingly, say dauntingly gave he. He played a tune and he danced around below the gallows tree. Oh, say rantingly, say wantingly, say dauntingly gave he. He played a tune and he danced around below the gallows tree. Below the gallows tree. Below the gallows tree. Well, hello and welcome everybody to the AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. So today would have been, we would have had a phenomenal march for independence at Stirling today. But like all under one banner's marches this year, all the scheduled ones anyway, we've had to postpone them until 2021. And since the 4th of April, we did the initial online Ceilidh with Broadcasting Scotland. It was a great success. That was #700live. You can see all of them on Broadcasting Scotland's website if you want to go check them out after this show. But basically we've continued, and we did Arbroath, then there was Glasgow, Peebles. They were in the studio, and then the restrictions changed and we were able to travel. So we went to Elgin and did a show there, which was great. And then Kirkcaldy after that, and then here we are at Stirling. So a warm welcome to everybody tonight. I hope you're having a nice Saturday night at home or wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in, or if you're watching this after the day, you're very welcome. Glad that you're here. So anyway, what we're going to have tonight is we'll get me and the guitar. I'm going to host. My name is Neil Mackay from All Under One Banner. I'll be playing lots of different traditional songs for you. I hope you enjoy. We'll get quite a few different guests that we're going to come on for some good conversation. And we've got 3 pipers as well from a pipe band. I'm not going to mention the band. They can bring that up themselves because of the political rules that they've all got. But certainly they're here as individuals, fantastic pipers. And we're going to go back to them, back and forwards between myself, some conversation and the pipers. So again, I really hope you enjoy the show. So I'm going to do another song now. And then we're going to go to the pipers, and then we'll come back and we'll speak to Ross from the Bannockburn House Trust. Now, as you can see, we're in Bannockburn House. You can see enough of it anyway. It's fantastic. Ross will fill us in a bit more of the history for a chat, but it was the Jacobite headquarters for, I think, nearly the whole of the month of January when they were here, just before the Battle of Falkirk. So it's steeped in history. And I believe it's full of spirits as well, and I just hope the house and everybody in it enjoys the show. Okay, so I'm going to play Ye Jacobites, and then we'll go to the pipers. So either sit back and relax, or by all means, get up and do a wee dance if you want. So here's Ye Jacobites. Ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear, lend an ear. Ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Ye Jacobites by name, your thoughts I will proclaim. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear, you shall hear. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear. What is right and what is wrong, by the law, by the law. What is right and what is wrong, by the law. What is right and what is wrong, a short sword and a line, a weak arm and a strong, for to draw, for to draw. A weak arm and a strong, for to draw. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Ye Jacobites by name, your thoughts I will proclaim. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear, you shall hear. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear. Oh, what makes heroic strife, fame the far, fame the far. What makes heroic strife, fame the far. What makes heroic strife, to whet the assassin's knife, and hunt a bairn's life with bloody war, bloody war. And hunt a bairn's life with bloody war. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, your thoughts I will proclaim. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear, you shall hear. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear. Oh, then let your schemes alone in the state, in the state. Then let your schemes alone in the state. Then let your schemes alone adorn the rising sun, and leave a man undone to his fate, to his fate. And leave a man undone to his fate. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear, lend an ear. Ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, your thoughts I will proclaim. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear, you shall hear. Your doctrines I'm on blame, you shall hear. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Oh, ye Jacobites by name, ye Jacobites by name, lend an ear. Okay, that was the Jacobites for myself. So we're now going to go over to get some live music for the pipers. Here we go. Okay, I think it's back to me. I'll just assume it is. And here we've got Ross from the Bannockburn House Trust. Hi Ross, great to listen. Thanks again for having us tonight.
Thank you for coming. Really enjoyed your rendition of McPherson's Farm. Really enjoy it. It's upbeat.
Aye. Most of the ones we hear, which are great, and that's where I've learned it from. They're that kind of more slower, more sombre, but it's good to put some energy into it. So what's about can you tell us a bit about Bannockburn House Trust?
So we're here at Bannockburn House Trust, just located in the outskirts of Stirling, just from the motorway. Yep. We are the largest urban community buyout of its kind in the country. So through things such as the Building Act of 2005, we as a community have purchased this great listed house and what is now the 30 acres of ground that surround it, and we're on this journey with the community, with our volunteers, to restore, conserve, preserve this monument, this historic landmark, and really make it something for the generations yet to come. So it's a brilliant wee journey story, and a great success story of sort of community coming together and being able to change something locally and take ownership, take power of it. And normally these things would be out to more things like the Historic Environment Scotland, National Trust of Scotland, that normally look after a lot of these buildings. So I think there's a lot of eyes on to see how a community can come together and if it can resource itself, if it can enable itself, skill itself to do it. And I think we're getting there.
It's a great example. We want to see a lot more of these things across Scotland.
Absolutely.
Community buyouts and.
We see a lot of that come with the community asset transfers and things like this. So yeah, power to the people. Definitely.
Indeed. So do you want to tell us a wee bit about? I know we could talk for ages about the history of the house, but do you want to maybe give us a wee bit of a summary about it for those who don't know?
So as I was saying, we are located just outside Stirling. We can trace the sort of first origins of this land back to just after the Battle of Bannockburn, when Robert Bruce gifted it to become the first baronet in the Baronet Brisbane. Drummond's Hall was built here. It stood, built by the Rollo dynasty. It stood until Cromwell came, and we believe he raised it in 1650. At that point, they started then to build what's now Bannockburn House. The Rollo family ran out of money. It was Sir Hugh Patterson, the first that completed the work, and they were in the main part here. The three Hughes, Sir Hugh's the first son, owned that until the third Sir Hugh, who was previously exiled for supporting in the 1715 uprising. He was allowed to come back in a pardon, and a few years later came back for 1743, and then when the British Isles came around, and of course he put up his home, which is here, to the Young Pretender, where he stayed for around about a month in January 46.
That was just before they went. That was before the Battle of Falkirk.
It was during the Battle of Falkirk. Culloden, of course, happened in April of that same year. Right, so we're quite close towards the end of the story of the rise and fall. From here, it was the last victory for the Jacobites, which was the Battle of Falkirk Muir. And one of the other interesting things is the siege of Stirling. The provost decided to surrender the town without fighting. Didn't want to, of course, put any men up or lose any life. So the provost came here, presented Charles with a key, and that lay hidden here because he didn't, of course, want to take on the war road with him, and behind some of the wooden panel work here, where it was laid undiscovered until much later on, bought by a private collector, decided after a year she'd have given it to the Smith Museum, so it's sat in there ever since. Last year we had the Smith Museum come along as a wee sort of ceremonial day, present the key with our volunteers and a lot of Jacobite groups and things like that. So yeah,
it's steeped in history, isn't it?
Steeped in history. As I've really touched a lot on the Jacobite story, but of course there's the Wilsons of Bannockburn, the famous tartan weavers after that to disarmament that was basically forbade anybody wearing tartan. It was the Wilsons that, apart from the gentry class, but the Wilsons were the first ones to start mass production of this. They had all the contracts for the MOD or the defence, all the Highland troops were still, up into the World Wars, were marching in kilts, so that's the Wilsons that were making the money of supplying that. Right. So yeah, a lot of connections with that and other little bits in history. I would recommend anybody that is interested go to that Our website, there is some videos and things that explain that a bit better than what I do.
You're doing fine.
I'll try. So lots of that history from Tartan to the Jacobite.
And it's quite haunted, we were talking about earlier as well.
Yeah, it's one of our big sort of USPs, if you will. We do a lot of paranormal nights and sort of ghostly nights and hunts and investigations. In normal un-COVID times, of course.
Yeah.
But there is. I mean, we've been talking about a lot.
Hey, we've done the basement earlier, and it was good.
You get the feel hang on it. And again, that's what I'm thinking the ghosts are probably going to be quite enjoying tonight.
I think I love the music, if anybody's kicking about. Well, I hope they do anyway.
Oh, definitely. I'm enjoying it anyway.
We'll see what turns up in the camera after.
I tell you, I used to really enjoy going to gigs, but until I've been here and listening to a bit of music, I've never actually realised how much I missed hearing a good gig. So,
brilliant. Well, thanks for coming up for a wee chat anyway, and having us here. And we'll look, obviously, depending on the restrictions and all this, because we don't know, it's like the weather, the Scottish weather, we don't know what's going to happen. But
seasons one day,
exactly. But looking forward to next year, we've got all under one banner. We've got 2 big marches at Stirling, which hopefully can go ahead. And all being well, we can come and make use of this place as an event maybe after or something.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, Ross. Well, thanks again.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay, thanks, brilliant. Cheers, Ross. Okay, that's Ross from Bannockburn House Trust. Very welcoming and friendly, and beautiful place. We've got all the you might have seen some behind the pipers up there. Get old banners there, old Jacobite banners, and the ornamental ceilings in here are just fantastic. So it's an honour to be here and play music, I tell you. So I'm going to play. I'll play another song, say maybe a couple of songs. I'll play another 2 songs, and then we'll go back to the pipers again. I think that's it. It's a bit ad hoc as always, but we're doing fantastic, I hope so. Right, so I'm going to play another couple of tunes. So I'm going to play a song called The Rose of Allendale. Now, a lot of people think, which I did as well, it's an Irish song or a Scottish song, but it's actually, Allendale's a town in Northern England. So it was written in the 1830s. I can't remember who wrote it. I looked it up the other day, but it's actually a Northern English song. But by all means, the Irish and Scots, we've taken it on and given it some. So here we go. Here's The Rose of Allendale. The morning was fair, the skies were clear, no breath came o'er the sea, when Mary left her healing home and wandered forth with me. Though flowers decked the mountainside and fragrance filled the vale, by far the sweetest flower there, 'twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale, by far the sweetest flower there, 'twas the rose of Allendale. Where'er I wandered east or west, though faith began to lure, a solace still she was to me in sorrow's lonely hour. When tempest lashed her lonely bark and rent her shivering sail, one maiden form withstood the storm, 'twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale. One maiden form withstood the storm, 'twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale. 'Twas the rose of Allendale, by far the sweetest flower there, 'twas the rose of Allendale. And when my fevered lips were parched on Afric's burning sands, she whispered hopes of happiness and tales of distant lands. My life has been a wilderness, unbiased by fortune's gale. Had fate not linked my lot to her, the rose of Allendale, 'twas the rose of Allendale, 'twas the rose of Allendale, by far the sweetest flower there. 'Twas the rose of Allendale, 'twas the rose of Allendale, 'twas the rose of Allendale. One maiden form withstood the storm, 'twas the rose of Allendale, 'twas the rose of Allendale. That was the Rose of Allendale. Love singing that. I remember it from, well, since I started listening to traditional. I like all sorts of music for sure. It has to be said that all the songs we're playing here tonight are traditional songs or original songs because of the copyright issues on YouTube. So it's stuff that we're doing along those lines. Anyway, I'm rambling. So that was the Rose of Allendale. Really enjoyed that song. I hope you did too. I'll play another one and then we'll go to the pipers again, which are just fantastic indoors. You should, as you do, hear the three of them on the camera, but in the room here, it's superb. So I'll do another one just now. I'm going to do A Man's a Man for All That by Robbie Burns. And then we'll go to the pipers. So I hope you're enjoying yourselves at home. If you can tweet with a hashtag, I should be saying this more often, if you can tweet with a hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. So hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh, and that's CEILIDH. That'd be fantastic. Let us know that you're enjoying the show. Okay. So here's A Man's a Man for All That. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his heed and all that? The coward slave, we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that. For all that and all that, our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's the gowd for all that. What though unhamely fare we dine, we're hodden grey and all that. Ye fools are silks and knaves are wine, a man's a man for all that. For all that and all that, the tinsel show and all that. The honest man, though e'er say poor, is king of men for all that. You see on Berkey called a lot, with strats and stairs and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star and all that. The man of independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. A prince can make a belted knight, a marquis, duke and all that. But an honest man's upon his might, good faith he money for that. For all that and all that, the dignities and all that, the pit o' sense and pride o' worth are higher rank than all that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will for all that. That sense and worth o'er the earth shall bear degree and all that. For all that to know that it's coming yet for all that. Then man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that. For all that to know that it's coming yet for all that. Then man to man the world o'er shall brothers be for all that. A man's a man. A man's a man for all that. And I'm sure Burns was also meaning that it's coming yet for all that, and independent Scotland's coming for all that, and it'll be coming soon, I tell you. So in the meantime, while we're waiting on an independent Scotland, we'll go back to the pipers. Enjoy.
Right, centre, quick, march.
Some pipers, I tell you. So here we've we'll come back to the guys soon. Here we've got Donald Anderson. Hello, Donald.
Hello.
Hello. Great to have you here. So you're did you found the Scottish Republican Socialist Movement?
As a founder member.
Founder member.
1973, April, I think it was. No, me.
And then tell us a bit about the Bannockburn March that you remember. You said
Yeah,
when was it that you took it on?
The SNP always did it very well attended, and for some reason they gave it up. And the Public Order Act had just come out, introduced by a Labour government, and the previous one was in the 1930s. It was supposed to stop fascism. It wasn't. It stopped Irish nationalists, peace people and socialists.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happened again. So the Public Order Act came out, and you couldn't have a rally without going to the police and giving 20 days notice to the council and to anyone else, and especially in Bannockburn, it involved the National Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And the National Trust is run by landlords. The whole board are landed entitled people who are not least the most sympathetic people to Scottish history,
Mm-hmm.
especially to the banner up there, 1820, to Baird Hardy, where they fought for it. The Republic actually had it on there. Down in the town, there was a wee plaque put up to them. It was put by of all people, the Labour Party, who at that time in Stirling, a little group of Marxists got it up. So there's nothing the National Trust will do about that.
Yeah.
And the two were dug up during the night and moved to Sighthill Cemetery in Glasgow to avoid all the fuss. They're ordered to be hung, drawn and quartered.
And that was a punishment as well. That was the English law at the time.
It suspended Scots law.
Aye, they suspended it.
And brought in English judges.
Aye.
That's anyway, they dug them up in the middle of the night and took them away. But they're supposed to be hung, drawn and quartered, and the hangman refused to do it. But they chopped his head off afterwards. And the ashes in the Smith Museum in Stirling. It's great, you should go see that. But what they did, they got students to dissect the bodies in the name of science. In other words, they did it.
They did it anyway.
Yeah, and
as they do.
There's a lot to be told about that. That's just because it's in Stirling,
Yes.
And a lot march from here and to here.
Because back in the medieval period, we know about Stirling Bridge. It was a key crossing over the Forth, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty narrow. In fact, some thought it was a two islands because of the fourth, you know, the way the cartographers who did it. And it was key to the Highlands and the gateway to the Highlands and the Lowlands. If you held Stirling, you more or less held Scotland.
That's right, aye.
But there's one instance, about 1820 in Stirling. The Abbey Craig Memorial was built not by the Trust, it's built by the Scottish Republican Chartists and a person called James Moyer. There's a suite to this man in the Mitchell Library in Scotland. He donated a lot of books to him, so they've got a suite to him. He was a Carlton tea merchant,
right.
But he's a Republican as well. There was no quite socialism as this. But he was also charged with being part of the 1820 rebellion. And he got off twice. Now, as we know, they suspended English law. He defended himself and he got off. They had a Scottish jury, they scrubbed the jury after it. The juries wouldn't convict him. And the judge called him Rory O'Bore because he was boring the judge. If you're not interested, you're bored, and the judge was wanted to hang him, you know.
Aye.
He got off twice. So he was instrumental in raising a lot of the money for the monument. And when it was founded, thousands of Republican churches had a huge march with torch, lighted faggots. That's not a PC word, lighted faggots.
That's a correct word for what you mean.
But the nobles wanted to put their crests on the monument. They totally refused, wouldn't allow them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Carlisle, a famous historian, which is not a friend of Scotland, called our nobles a bunch of unprincipled hyenas, and they recognised that. Now, he read out letters from Mazzini and Garibaldi, so it was Wallace was well known. Napoleon knew about him, and he had a wee biography, his knapsack. His tutor was from Elgin, I think his name, Watson was his name, and he was a Republican as well. He was murdered in London. He was 70 odd years of age, and he committed suicide by garroting himself in his cravat. That's what you do when you want to commit suicide. So obviously they killed him, you know. But Napoleon knew about it, but lots of people did. You could go on and on about where he's known.
There's a lot of history, isn't there?
But I just wanted to bring it up about there. It's not the National Trust that owned it.
Yeah.
It owned Bannockburn, but they hold it trust for the people of Scotland. You have to keep reminding that. They just didn't want us, when the SNP gave up, they did not want that rally to continue. And what they did is they had a reenactment cried up from England, nothing wrong with that. It was nice, charging £30 to get in.
Right.
If you wanted a stall, you had to phone up Hull, I think it was, or somewhere, and pay £30, then or £60 it was, then another £60 for insurance for the Yorkshire company. And that was the stuff was getting in. And Gordon Brown, the great socialist hero, he decided they'd have an armed forces day with a fly past of red arrows to stop us marching. But we all come in the back way and had it anyway.
Good.
And they tried to stop us, but there's no fracas.
But you've been, it's only until recently, now all under one banner's going to do the annual march, aren't we?
Absolutely glad of that, because I'm 83 now, and I might not see world peace in a Scottish Social Republic, but if you're not going to get your act together and stop arguing among yourself, I hope to see an independent Scotland. And I'm happy to hand it over to all under one banner, because I'm sick of all the hassle having to deal with the petty bureaucrats, all interpreting the Public Order Act the way they want it, and trying to say you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, the reason's obvious, it's politics. No, I'm very happy, and last year under one banner, took over with the biggest attendance ever. We only had a few.
That was 2018, wasn't it? That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But next year we're on the 26th of June, and it'll be Saturday closest to the anniversary, the 23rd. Well, 24th is the main battle day, isn't it? And it's an honour for us to continue a long tradition.
It's got to be carried on.
It's got to be, all the way.
Because most of the people I work with are all Van Breed. I'm probably the last of the Mohicans now. There's still plenty of us, a few of us left. And
you're still, the SRSM still doing the John Maclean commemoration?
It's the nearest Sunday to the anniversary of his death, which is St Andrew's Day, November the 30th. So we'll be doing it on the 29th, that's a Sunday, because some people are working on Monday, still working in Scotland, some people. And instead of having the march from his grave in the cemetery, we're just going to go to his cairn, and Shaw's shopping centres are cairn there. I'll have a few speeches and we'll go inside a local church hall, nothing to do with religion, we just hired a hall and we're clearly there, and socially distanced, and nobody's spreading filthy diseases or anything.
In line with whatever the regulations are at the time, because we just don't know what's going to happen.
But we'll go along with the police because they've always been very good to us.
Aye.
So,
Well, I learned a couple of, as I knew we were getting on as a guest, I learned a couple of songs about John Maclean. Hamish Henderson on John Maclean March. So I learned only about 12 days ago. I thought, right, I need to get some new songs for the next show. But it's a fair few verses in it. Well, I learned that, and the Ballad of John Maclean as well, the other one. So
that was Mark McGinn.
That's right.
And the other one's Hamish Henderson, but the best version I would say was a Lagan.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, and Arthur Johnson sings it very well, you know.
So brilliant. Well, listen, I'll get you on again for another wee chat. I'm going to play the Hamish Henderson, John Maclean March now. So brilliant, Donald. Thanks for coming. Okay. Cheers. Right, Donald Anderson is a legend for many. Now, here is my version of John Maclean March by Hamish Henderson. Hey Mac, did you see him as he came down Begorgie? I wore the Lammerlaw and north o' the Tay. Now yon man is coming, and the whole town is turning it. We're all sure he'll win back to Glasgow today. The Jiners and Hodders on are marching frae Clydebank. Come on down and see him, he'll be our throng to bide. Come on, Jock and Jimmy, leave the crans and the muckle gantries. Great John Maclean's coming hame to the Clyde. Argyle Street and London roads, the road that we're marching. The lads frae the Brummelaw are here to a man. Hey Neil, where's your orderers? You beg heel and shifter, get your pipes made and march at the head o' the plan. Hello, Pat Maloney, I knew you'd be here, son. The blue and the green, my lad, we'll wear side by side. For the Gorbals is his the day, and Glasgow belongs to him. Great John Maclean's coming home to the Clyde. It's forward to Glasgow Green, we'll march in good order. Well grips the banners well, that boy isna blade. Hey look man, that's Johnny now, not him the bonny fichter. Lennon's his fare, and O'Lead makes his mate. Tack tent when he's speaking, for you'll mind what is said here in Glasgow, our city, and the whole world beside. Och, look, man, the Scarlet's bonny, here's to your heel and shawny. Great John Maclean's coming home to the Clyde. I will when it's finished, I'm awa home to Springburn. Came home to your tea, John, we'll soon hae you fed. It's hard work this speaking, I'm sure he'll be tired tonight. I'll sleep on the flare mac and gauge on the bed. The whole city's quiet now, it kens that he's resting at home with his Glasgow friends, their fame and their pride. The red will be worn, my lad, and Scotland will rise again, for great John Maclean has come home to the Clyde. Hey Mac, did you see him as he come down Begorgie? I wore the Lammerlaw and north o' the Tay. Now yon man is coming, and the whole city's turning it. Great John Maclean's coming home to the Clyde. Great John Maclean's coming home to the Clyde. So that was the John Maclean March by Hamish Henderson. As Donald was saying, Bandalagan, that was the version I looked to. What a lovely song. It was really emotional learning it, actually, like the words like the blue and the green stand beside, the sectarian barriers are gone, and the whole city's risen up to welcome a hero home, you know. So what a great song. I'm going to play the next one while we're on the John Maclean theme, and that's the Ballad of John Maclean. So I hope you enjoy. Tell me where you're gone, lad, and who you're going to meet. I'm headed for the station that's in Buchanan Street. I'll join 200,000 that's there to meet the train that's bringing back to Glasgow our own dear John Maclean. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. Tell me where he's been, lad, and why has he been there? They've had him in the prison for preaching in the square. For Johnny held a finger at all the ills he saw. He was right side o' the people, but he was wrong side o' the law. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. Oh, Johnny was a teacher in one of Glasgow schools. The golden law was silenced, but Johnny broke the rules. For a world of social justice, young Johnny couldn't wait. He took his chalk and easel to the men at the shipyard gate. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. So the nation made money hand or fist by grinding down the people by the fiddle and the twist. Aided and abetted by the preacher and the press. John called for revolution and he called for nothing less. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. The bosses and the churches united as one man, for Johnny was a menace to the 1418 plan. They wanted men for slaughter in the fields of Armentières. John called upon the people to smash the profiteers. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. They brought him to the courtroom in Edinburgh town, but still he didn't cower, he firmly held his ground, and stoutly he defended his every word and deed. 5 years it was his sentence in the jail at Peterhead. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. For 7 months he lingered in present misery, till the people rose in fury at Glasgow and Dundee. Lloyd George and all his cronies were shaken to the core. The prison gates were opened and John was free once more. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. Domine, Domine, oh, there was none like John Maclean, the fighting Domine. The Ballad of John Maclean. So I think we're going to go to the I'm taking instructions here. I have to keep talking. So yes, some lyrics and or keep playing some music. Right. So talking and playing some music. I can do that. Just a couple of words on John. Some of those lyrics are so true. They're still so true. I mean, they were true in 1918 and they're true now. The leaders of the nation made money hand over fist by grinding down the people with the fiddle and the twist. I mean, what has changed since that? You have to ask yourself, what has actually changed? The circumstances, the technology we've got, the society we've got, it's very different. But what really has changed in that? They're still at it, and they're at it right now before our very eyes, and we've got to stand up and resist them. That's what we've got to do. But anyway, enough of that for the now. I'll do another song now. We'll change it, and I think, well, I've got a wee list of songs here. I'll tell you what, I'll do a song called Liberty, which is about the wars for independence, not the wars to make Scotland independent. Scotland was an independent country, an independent nation, the Kingdom of Alba, in 843 AD, with Kenneth MacAlpine as the United King of the Picts and the Scots, or what we call the Picts. We don't actually know for sure what their name was. But anyway, we call them the Picts and the Scots, and Kenneth MacAlpine was the first king of the Kingdom of Alba. And it's actually, the nation of England as such didn't come about until about 57 years later. So Scotland actually outdates England as a nation. But the whole point is that we were independent for hundreds of years before King Alexander III fell off his horse near Kinghorn and Fife and left no heir to the throne of Scotland, and set forth the whole shenanigans with Edward I stepping in and saying that he would arbitrate it, which we knew what that meant, you know. But anyway, the Scottish nobles, they capitulated. I think it was at Irvine, and it was a long, dark winter in 1296 with the English armies at the time, under the command of Edward I, and I think it was, I can't remember the tax collector. What was the name of the tax collector? It was him. But anyway, it was a nightmare. It was like the Sheriff of Nottingham. And Scotland was under occupation that winter. But in the following year, we had uprisings, people's uprisings in the south and in the north. The names that we know, that we remember, are William Wallace and Andrew de Moray. But obviously, everybody, every man, woman and child that did anything to resist it deserves a song, but we can only sing about the ones that we know about. But anyway, this song's Liberty, and this is about those times. So whenever you read about the wars of Scottish independence, remember, Scotland was already independent before then. This was wars to reinstate our independence and to get it, 100% solidified and reinstated that was the case. As we know, Robert the Bruce came along after the people's uprisings with Wallace was put down at Falkirk in 1298, and then there was numerous further summer invasions with English armies. Robert the Bruce came along, the Black Douglas, we'll sing about him in a wee minute, and we ended up with 1320, the declaration of Arbroath after the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314, but I don't think it was in 1320, it was a bit after that it was recognised. Scotland was finally recognised by the Pope at the time, which was a wee bit like the EU or the UN, as an independent country. So wars to reinstate independence, not to begin independence. Okay, very important. So I'm going to play a song called Liberty. Here we go. By the cross our Andrew bore, by the sword our William wore, by the crown our Robert swore, to win our liberty. Call the falcon frae the glen, call the eagle frae the ben, call the lion frae his den, to win our liberty. By the man whose faith was old, by the man they sold for gold, by the man they'll never hold, to win our liberty. Call the thieves o' Liddesdale, call the spears o' Annandale, call the brave o' Yarrow Vale, to win our liberty. By the arm that bends the bow, by the arm that plies the blow, by the arm that lays them low, to win our liberty. Call the banners frae the west, call the raven frae the nest, call the clans that dance the best to win our liberty. By the field that once was green, by the shield that silver sheen, by the sword in battle keen, to win our liberty. Bless the man whose faith we hold, bless the man in chains they sold, bless the man in cloth of gold, who won our liberty. Bless the man whose faith we hold, bless the man in chains they sold, bless the man in cloth of gold, who won our liberty. Bless the man in cloth of gold, who won our liberty. Yeehaw, liberty. There we go. So, I love that song, love the words, and I think anybody that loves Scotland will like it too. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying the show. Just to remind everybody to tweet, please, or put it on your posts, hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh, all the one link, all the one word, hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh, and Ceilidh is Ceilidh, for anybody that doesn't know, who should know, is watching this. So hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. So get your tweets out there, put your posts up, let us know what you're thinking, good, bad, indifferent, I don't care, tweet, post, whatever, just come on, get some stuff online. Hope you're enjoying it. I think I have to do another one. Yeah, I'll do another one, right. So on that theme, we'll go with the Black Douglas, song called The Black Douglas. I'm not going to repeat what I said before, but some of the history, but another famous character from that period, one of Robert the Bruce's captains, and I think many of you seen Outlaw King and the various adaptations or versions of Robert the Bruce story. You'll see the Black Douglas. And Outlaw King, I loved it when he was in the church, you know, and he just let rip. It was brilliant. So anyway, here we go. Here's the Black Douglas. Enjoy. There was a man, sae dark and true, was Scotland love sae dear. There was a king, wha lang will rue, the Scots wha flayed him sair. Gan cry the hounds o Douglas Vale, gan string the Ettrick bow, gan warn the spears o Liddesdale, that Edward leads the foe. He wore the cross o Andrew Bow by the steps o Calvary. He won the sword o Robert wore by the field of Balvenie. Gan shear the chains of slavery, gan dance my liegeman Lee, gan bring the bell o liberty, shod weigh the metal free. His spurs done bison pride upon the green sheet free. He held the leopard and the tide by the field o Lintoony. Gan shine the shield your father wore, gan strike your metal free. Gan shine the helm your father wore by the field o Torwoodley. He rode to Necht when it was murk, done by the leopard's lair. He chased the tyrant in his shirt around the field sae fair. Gan pack your bags, ye English English loons, gan tak your banners hey, gan tak your king was sought her prune and lost the bloody day. Gan tak your king was sought her prune and lost the bloody game. Okay, that was the Black Douglas. So I think we're going to go now to Iona Fife, yeah, who amazingly has done some pre-recording for us. Enjoy.
I'll lead in love, I'll treat you decent, I'll lead in love, I'll fill your can, I'll lead in love, I'll treat you decent, for surely he is an honest man. Well, I could do 'tis summer evening, down by the banks of the pleasant dawn. As I went walking, I could hear them talking, saying surely he's an honest man. I'll lead in love, I'll treat you decent, I'll lead in love, I'll fill your can, I'll lead in love, and I'll treat you decent, for surely he's an honest man. I'm bound away, love, and I will leave you to cross the hills and the body sands. But when I return, then we'll get married. I'll prove to you an honest man. I'll lead in love, I'll treat you decent, I'll lead in love, I'll fill your can, I'll lead in love, I'll treat you decent, for surely he is an honest man. Well, I travelled fain and doon as far as Edinburgh town. But time and gang love and travel further. But when I return, I'll lay it down, I'll lay it down, love. I'll treat you decent, I'll lay it down, love. I'll fill your can, I'll lay it down, love, and I'll treat you decent, for surely he is an honest man.
later on and checking it out. I'm sure it was lovely. And thank you, Owen, for providing that kind of last minute too. We've got another Ceilidh on in 3 weeks' time at Edinburgh, the last of this series, on the 3rd of October, what would have been the Monster March at Edinburgh. So that'll be good, and I believe Owen is going to come on that. We're already filling that up with guests, so that'll be really good. Now, I think we were going to go to some the pipers again, but while they're sorting out the technical issues, I'm going to play a song. Before I do, just to introduce Ian Ramsey of the 1820 Society and the Celtic League of Nations, or is it League of Celtic Nations. So, hello Ian, how you doing?
Not bad, and very nice, Neil, of you to invite me along. Thank you.
It's an honour. I'm glad that you're here. So, what we'll do is we'll come back and have a blather with you in a minute. We'll talk about the 200th anniversary, the 1820 uprising, and amongst everything else. So, I'll give it. If you could just sit where you are, enjoy the music. We'll come back soon enough.
Thank you.
Okay. Right. So, what am I going to do on my wee list? I'll do the Hawes of Cromdale, which is an amalgamation. I can't remember the battles. You might maybe get them. Do you know the two battles they've pulled together?
They joined them two together.
Aye. One, because I mentioned Montrose, but Montrose was already dead by the time the Battle of Cromdale took place.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a great song, so I'm just going to do that now. Here we go. Hawes of Cromdale. As I come in by Auchindown, just a wee bit frae the town, when tae the Hielands I was bound to view the Hawes of Cromdale. I met a man in tartan trews, speered at him what was the news. Oh, he the Hieland army rose, and there we come to Cromdale. He said we were in bed, sir, everyone, when the English host upon us come. A bloody battle then began upon the Hawes of Cromdale. The English horse, they were so rude, they bait their hoofs in Hieland blood, but our brave clans they boldly stood upon the Hawes of Cromdale. But alas, we could no longer stay out o'er the hills, we come away, and sair we did lament the day, and there we come to Cromdale. And us, the great Montrose, did say, John Hieland man, show me the way, and I'll go on the hill this day, to view the Hawes of Cromdale. They were at dinner, everyone, when the great Montrose upon them come. A second battle then began upon the Hawes of Cromdale. The Grant, Mackenzie and Mackay, as soon as great Montrose they spied, then they fought right valiantly upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Them Macdonalds they returned again, the Camerons did their standards join, the Macintosh played a bloody game upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Oh, the Gordons boldly did advance, the Frasers fought with sword and lance, Graham's made each to dance upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Then the lawyers, Stuarts, Wayman throws, boldly set upon their foes, laid them low with Hieland blows, laid them low at Cromdale. Of 20,000 Cromwell's men, 1,000 fled to Aberdeen, the rest of them lie on the plain upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Of 20,000 Cromwell's men, 1,000 fled to Aberdeen, the rest of them lie on the plain. Oh, upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Upon the Hawes of Cromdale. Upon the Hawes of Cromdale. The Hawes of Cromdale. So, are we ready for the pipers yet? We are. Okay, here we go. Some more fantastic pipe music. Enjoy.
I said that quick march.
Just one this time. Brilliant. Okay, thanks, guys. Sounding brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so just talk myself. Right. Sorry, it's a big old house here, and we're very far apart, so we need to make sure we know what we're doing. Right. Okay, so I believe I have to play one more song just now, and then we'll come back to me and Ian for a blether. Okay, right. So I hope you're okay there, Ian. I know it's a bit bright here, but you should have brought your sunglasses with you. A bit cold. Right. Anyway, here's a song for a wee change. This is a song called "The Castle of Dromore." I don't know if you know it. An Irish song, maybe a lullaby. So I'll play that. There's 4 castles of Dromore in Ireland, but there's messaging, there's words in the song which apparently link it to County Kerry. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. The October winds lament around the castle o' Dromore, yet peace is in her lofty halls, a fish of an a store. The autumn leaves may droop and die, a bird of spring are you. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Send no ill will to hinder us, my loving babe and me. Dread spirits o' the Blackwater clan, Ewan's wild banshee, and Holy Mary pitying in heaven for grace doth sue. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Time to thrive, my rose of hope, in the garden o' Dromore. Take heed, young eaglet, till your wings are feathered fit to soar. A little time and then our land is full of things to do. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lalloo, lowland. Sing hush-a-balloo, lowland. The Castle of Dromore. Okay, so I think we can go now to a chat with Ian. Sorry for keeping you waiting there. Yeah.
No problem.
So Ian Ramsey, thank you very much for coming along tonight for the show. And just to repeat, you're of the 1820 Society. And
I'm chairman of the 1820 Society, and I'm the secretary of the League of Celtic Nations Scottish branch, which of course is the main Celtic nations are Scotland, Wales, Ireland, the Manx, and Brittany and Cornwall.
That's right.
They're all recognised basically. The only ones that the British state don't seem to recognise is Cornwall. Although, strangely enough, Cornwall rose up. The reason it rose up against the English king was he was wanting them to come and help to fight him to fight Scots. And they said, no, they're fellow Celts. We've no intention of going to fight them. So they raised an army and went and fought the English king, who defeated them, took their leaders into a field and slit their throats, which was a typical trick of the time.
Yep.
But so, thank you, Cornwall, for trying to come and help us, or refusing to come and help the English king to beat us. And but meanwhile, as a fellow Celtic nation, we'll be having our conference down in Cornwall, I think, next year. We alternate it every year. Next year after that will be in Ireland, and then
Right, okay.
Scotland, and so on and so forth. And Brittany, of course, is the only place that is not under British rule.
Mm-hmm.
It's under French rule. And so last week we commemorated the 200th anniversary of the two men who were taken out and slowly strangled and beheaded by the British state. 200 years ago is not a long time.
No.
I mean, I was at a man's funeral only 2 years ago who had lived to 106, so I just realised that 200 years ago is not long ago. But the hangman, when they executed them in the Broad Street in Stirling there, the hangman had refused to behead them. And you can still see the axe that beheaded them in the museum here in Stirling.
Mm-hmm.
But they managed to bribe or pay a medical student to do the dirty trick for them, and the two men were executed by English law, because in Scottish law there was no treason law, there was no sedition law, so they had to bring English law across the border with lawyers and so on and so forth and try them in the court in Glasgow, which was a total breach of the Treaty of Union.
Mm-hmm.
And they were demanding an apology from the English government and the Queen, that this was a total disgraceful. It was basically a state murder of those people.
Yeah.
And the three things that they wanted was A, the right to vote. Nobody had to vote in those days, only the landowners. And B, they wanted the right to form unions. And of course, C, the thing that really got them, the British state annoyed, they wanted to form a provisional state government until they could get proper elections. This was crushed. Of course, to quote old Winston Churchill, any nation that doesn't stand up for itself deserves to be crushed.
Mm.
Now, he said that, of course he was referring to Poland at the time, but it was his attitude towards any situation like that. And I think it's a good one to remember. And if the people of Scotland don't vote to become a free and independent sovereign state, then they can be well assured they will be crushed. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
So as I say, the 1820 I'm involved in, and the Celtic League, well, we call it the League of Celtic Nations because when we say Celtic League in Scotland, too many people think it's football.
It goes together, doesn't it?
Celtic League. So, me being a good Morton supporter for Greenock, I can't go along with that.
Aye, because the League of Celtic Nations is better, aye.
Yes, and we've got branches as far away as Patagonia in southern Argentina and Australia. A lot of the people who were deported, the ones that weren't executed, leaders were executed but in 1820, but many were put on ships and deported to Botany Bay in Australia. And their great-grandsons and great-granddaughters are now contacting us, and they've been over and visited all the various places. And so the people were suppressed in a terrible fashion. But things are slowly but surely improving. What I thought was amazing at the commemoration in Stirling there was the group of, quite a large group of young students from the Stirling University who were demanding the rights of the people, the right to vote. It's amazing to think that Robert Burns, who lived even after much longer after the Union, never ever qualified to vote in his life, because he only leased his farms, whereas the landowner got a vote. He didn't qualify to vote.
Because he didn't own them.
Didn't own the land.
Aye.
No. So
It's shocking, and even when you look at obviously the Treaty of Union, the Acts of Union, this early 18th century, and nobody was voting then, was it? It was a parcel of rogues, as Burns said. So how can they say that a treaty that we know has been broken countless times, how can they say that and it was never voted in, how can they possibly say that this is valid? It's totally void.
And 2 years before the Union, what a lot of people don't realise, that 2 years before the Union, 1705, the English Parliament passed a law declaring all foreign Scotsmen, not only foreigners, but they actually declared them aliens. Scots were to be declared aliens, not to be traded with, not to be spoken to, not associated with in any way. The only ones that were exempt were the ones that were the grovelling Scottish lords that were already in England taking English bribes. And so that the Scottish delegation at the Union, or the Treaty of Union 2 years later, said, look, you have to repeal this Alien Act before we can go ahead with the Treaty of Union, because one contradicted the other. One was saying that you're not to trade or talk to Scotsmen, another was saying, oh, to big palms. And so the English side agreed to repeal this treaty. They never did.
Right.
For 162 years before it was eventually repealed, which means that the Treaty of Union went ahead totally illegally.
Yeah.
Because part of the conditions was never adhered to cancel the first treaty. And how could you have a union of people that call you aliens?
Aye. And the sovereignty in Scotland resides with the community, doesn't it? It resides with the people, or at least it's meant. It's meant to such.
Well, you take even our kings. If you go back, the present English monarch can't be taken to court. Even our cars don't have a number plate. You know, it's just. Whereas the Scottish kings quite often were taken to court. Alexander III was taken to court by a butcher, because in those days a butcher just had a field where he kept cattle. The king had confiscated this for his hunting, and the butcher took him to court and won. But you know, and let's face it, the Battle of Largs, where Alexander III was successful against the Norwegians, what was that, 1263?
Yep.
So, you know, this is a long time ago. Mary Queen of Scots' father was taken to court in Scottish law, made to pay up his debts to his people.
And that was in the Declaration of Arbroath. It was obviously in existence with that principle before then, but that was put into writing, wasn't it?
They told Bruce, you know, we'll replace you. Now, can you imagine 300 years after Bruce, the English telling Henry VIII that? You know,
no chance.
You know, otherwise you went along with one of his wives to eat your head off. You know? No, I think that Scotland to a certain extent got too advanced, and that was one of the reasons. You know, we were talking the other day about Berwick and Tweed. 4 times it's changed hands between Scotland and England, and the last time England took it by siege, and you know, conquest is a form of theft. So, and English kings then after, during I think it was Edward III, signed a treaty recognising Scottish independence, and also that he was going to hand back Berwick. So Berwick is, again, that's another treaty that they've broken and have never. We should have the town of Berwick back in Scotland.
But you know, you're saying things are improving, and they are. We are. I mean, independence is coming, isn't it? It's not going to be that long.
I'm positive. Whether I see it or not, being 83 in my next birthday, I don't know. But I'm confident that, especially the young people that are coming along now, they're Scots first, and they'll laugh at you if you come up with this. When I was in school, the propaganda was the jolly old Union Jack stuff. Now the Union Jack, and in the country that I lived in for 14 years, South Africa, I've stood there in the concentration camps that the British organised, to putting 35,000 women and children to death, slowly by starvation and lack of. And this is something we were never taught in school.
Yeah.
We were never taught about anything. I come from Greenock. The people of Greenock in 1820 stormed the prison, let the political prisoners go, and we were never taught this. We were taught about the French Revolution, the storming the Bastille. Meanwhile, the storming the Bastille was a propaganda stunt because there were only about 4 prisoners in it.
Right.
And one of them was a drunken Irishman that was just drunk for the night. And but they wanted the arms and ammunition that was in the.
You're right. It's the propaganda and education, and obviously still going on, isn't it? So, but hopefully with the internet age and the broader, you know, you can click on anything and you can find out, can't you? There's a lot more information there, isn't there?
The children that were interviewed not long ago, a couple of years back, the Scottish children said they were bored with history. It's because they were getting taught constantly about defeats. You know, and this is something that David Ross, the historian, found when he went down to Yorkshire to one of Bruce's greatest victories, which was the Battle of Old Byland, which is almost it's in Yorkshire, near Scarborough. And the English king, just Edward II, got away with the skin of his teeth, and Bruce was victorious. Now, the local historian there, the lady, she had never heard of it. And this is when David Ross found out, whereas in Scotland we commemorate our defeats as well as our victories, the English only commemorate a victory and take the defeats off the shelf. And this is what is wrong with the difference between Scottish and English history. And we don't think we're any better than any nation, but we don't think
Any lesser either?
no, we're equal. And we've got a seat waiting on us in the United Nations.
Yep.
Scotland is an important nation, and like Norway, which is in actual fact got a less population, and like Denmark, with a similar sized country, we could make a difference to world peace, and we must get rid of the nuclear bases in Scotland, get them out, and become a free, independent, and a country that respects itself. And let our children be proud of being Scots, and let us fly the St Andrew's flag, the oldest flag in Europe. The Danes claim that theirs is the oldest flag. It's the oldest flag of a sovereign state, and it's because we're not yet a sovereign state. But when we are a sovereign state, our St Andrew's flag is the oldest flag in Europe. And thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, and I'll talk to you after the show. Brilliant.
Good.
Cheers. Good. Okay, so I was Ian Ramsey of 1820 Society and the League of Celtic Nations. So I think I'll do another song just now. Okay, so what am I going to do in my wee list? Before I do it, just to remind everybody to get your tweets out, your posts, if you can include the hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh, that'd be great. And I really hope everybody's enjoying it. I'll see this later on when I get up the road. So I'm going to do a song called Dark Loch Nagar, a poem put to music, poem by Lord Byron. So here we go. Oh, ye great landscapes, ye gardens of roses, and you let the minions of luxury roam, and restore me the rock where the snowflake reposes, if still they are sacred to freedom and love. Brave Caledonia, dear are thy mountains, round their white summits the elements war. Though cataracts roar, instead of smooth flowing fountains, I sigh for the valley, O dark Loch Nagar. Brave Caledonia, dear are thy mountains, I sigh for the valley, O dark Loch Nagar. And ere my young footsteps in infancy wandered, my cap was the bonnet, my cloak was the plaid. On chieftains departed, my memory lingered, as daily I strayed through the pine-covered glade. I sought not my home, till the days die in glory, gave place to the rays of the bright polar star. My fancy was cheered by the bold martial story, as told by the sons o' dark Loch Nagar. Brave Caledonia, dear are thy mountains. I sigh for the valley o' dark Loch Nagar. Oh, years have rolled on, Loch Nagar, since I left you. Years must roll on ere I see you again. Though nature of verdure and flowers bereft you, yet still art thou dearer than Albion's plain. England, thy beauties are tame and domestic to one who has roamed on the mountains afar. Oh, for the crags that are wild and majestic, the steep frowning glories o' dark Loch Nagar. I'll stop now the brave, did no vision foreboding, tell you that fate had forsaken our cause. Yet were you destined to die at Culloden, no victory crown, not your fall with applause. Yet were you happy in death's earthly slumbers, to sleep where your clan on the caves o' Braemar. The Piedroch resounds to the pipers' loud numbers, your deeds to the echoes o' dark Loch Nagar. Your deeds to the echoes o' dark Loch Nagar. Brave Caledonia, dear are thy mountains. I sigh for the valley o' dark Loch Nagar. Brave Caledonia, dear are thy mountains. I sigh for the valley o' dark Loch Nagar. Dark Loch Nagar. I love that. What a beautiful, beautiful poem, beautiful words. But looking back to Scotland in his childhood and remembering it fondly, and it's incomparable, uncontestable, absolutely brilliant. The best country in the world, but I'm biased. So that was Dark Loch Nagar. So I believe we've got other things getting lined up, but honestly, it's a pleasure. If you could see the ceiling, it is amazing. It's the ornamental work is just. It's just lovely. What a great experience to be here. An honour. And some great guests we've got on, ranging from Ross at Bannockburn, the Bannockburn House Trust that we had on to start with, and then most lately Ian Ramsey there with Donald Anderson as well. So I hope you're enjoying the show. If you can get your tweets out on your posts, it's hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. Now, I just want to say a couple of words. We've got a... you know, what a terrible move the BBC have made, shutting down the First Minister's coronavirus briefings. How dare they? You know, hundreds of thousands of people depend on that information right now, and it has been highlighted that it's mainly the most vulnerable Scots, so those who are elderly or otherwise vulnerable, who significantly depend on that information, and the BBC have shut it down. They're not even going to do the briefing on Radio Scotland either. So we've got a serious problem. As we know, the BBC is biased, it's corrupt, and it has to change, and it will change. We will change this once we're independent. But in the meantime, this is unacceptable. And we've got a rally, all under one banner. We've got a rally next Thursday at Pacific Quay at 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Now, I have to say, it's not a mass gathering. It's not a march. This is a very controlled, safe, static rally for a short time outdoors. We are keeping numbers manageable by using a registration process. Many people have registered online already. We're going to open up the registration process again, tomorrow for a couple of days because there's more space because we're moving it to Pacific Quay. But it's vital that we attend this. Now, you're only to attend if you first register and your registration's confirmed, so please only attend if that's the case. But for those who do attend, it's absolutely vital that we make a stand against the BBC, its corruption and its bias, and we get the First Minister's coronavirus briefings on a daily basis aired again. So I hope everybody supports that. So I'm going to play another song just now. About a massacre in 1692. The words will tell the story itself, but I think it was Maclean was the chief of the MacDonalds of Glencoe, and I think round about he was to sign allegiance to King William by the 1st of January, and I think he was a couple of days late, and then he signed it because he had to, because letters of fire and sword would have been issued anyway. In this case, it was the Campbells. Now, no offence to anybody Campbells, there's loads of Campbells about. You know, just because you've got the name Campbell doesn't make you a bad person, you know. But certainly it was some Campbells, a very few of them, with their red coats on, who committed this most heinous atrocity. So I'm going to play this song now. It's called The Massacre of Glencoe. We've always got to remember this, along with every other atrocity by the British state carried out against the people of Scotland. So here's The Massacre of Glencoe. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came in a blizzard, we offered them heat, a roof for their heads, dry shoes for their feet. We wined them and dined them, they ate of our meat, and they slept in the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came from Fort William with murder in mind. The Campbell had orders King William had signed. Put all to the sword, these words underlined, and leave none alive, called MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. They came in the night when the men were asleep, this band o' Argyles, through snow soft and deep, like murdering foxes among helpless sheep. They slaughtered the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Some died in their beds at the hands of the foe, some fled in the night and were lost in the snow. Some lived to accuse him, was struck the first blow, but gone was the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. Oh, cruel is the snow that sweeps Glencoe and covers the graves of O'Donnell. And cruel was the foe that raped Glencoe and murdered the house of MacDonald. That was the Massacre of Glencoe. Again, hope you enjoyed the song, hope you enjoying the show. I never expected to be doing anything like this last year, or even the start of this year. I was wanting to get going with my music again, start playing. I started to get into it at the start of the year, but I had no idea I was going to do any of these shows. The first few, as I say, were in the studio, and with people coming in, performers coming in via Skype, I was sitting in a little green room looking up at thin air, talking to people. And that went very well. It was a good experience. But it's great to actually get back out there and go to beautiful places like this and meet wonderful people and hear history and culture and everything. So it's an absolute honour. So anyway, please get your tweets and your posts. Hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. Very important if you can. Get something out there and let us know what you're thinking. You're enjoying the show. So I believe we've got... we've got the pipers again. Right, we get the pipers. I didn't know who it was. Okay, here we go. Enjoy the pipes.
By the centre, quick, march.
Fantastic to have a live pipes here in Bannockburn House. So we're nearly finished the show tonight. Again, another 2 hours goes in pretty fast. I believe we've got one other speaker. Yeah, well, I'll keep talking a wee bit. So I'll finish off with Scott Swahey. So I'll just go straight into Scott Swahey. Once we've got Scotty, who's going to do some speak for us in a wee minute here, so something special for you. But certainly, Scott Swahey, we're at Bannockburn. I don't know how, the proximity to the battle site, I think it's pretty close from here. There'd have been all sorts of killing and gouging and rolling about in the mud, I'm sure, all over the place. But certainly the main battlefield, I don't think is far from here, a wee bit to the north. And what a historic, pivotal battle that was. But Ian Ramsey's quite right. I mean, we tend to focus on the negative in Scotland. In some ways, it's endearing and part of our sort of character. But in the other way, we're always putting ourselves down. We're always accepting substandard conditions. And by that, I mean remaining inside this union, in this United Kingdom, which thankfully, by all accounts, by all perceptions, it's coming to an end. The end of the union is nigh, as we say, and fast approaching. So, anyway, so Battle of Bannockburn, Scott Swahey. It was originally called Robert the Bruce March to Bannockburn, and I think it was, I can't remember the tune it was put to at the time. But anyway, what a fantastic song. So I'll play that to finish after Scotty's done his piece, which he's just about to do, just lining up. You should see the banners. I know you've seen some of them up there behind where the pipers were playing, but they're all round this top floor. These ancient-style Jacobite banners and Scottish banners. So it's been an absolute honour to be here tonight. I'm sure I can speak for everybody that's here. Anyway, enough for me just now. I will play Scots Way to finish in a moment. If you can get your tweets out, your posts, hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh, that would be great. But in the meantime, I don't know if we're ready. No, we're not quite, so I'll just keep talking for a moment. It's very important that we're doing these things, we're doing what we can do. It's always important that we do what we can do. Now, don't get me wrong, there's restrictions in place and they change with the Scottish weather at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen, but there's always something that we can do. I mean, when Scotland or the UK, the whole of the UK, was in lockdown, full lockdown earlier on in the year, we were still doing stuff online. Everybody was doing what they can, but it's vital that we continue to do what we can and we do it in the fullest sense, because Scottish independence isn't going to be gifted to us. No power is going to come along to say, there you go. And neither is no power, do I believe, personally, going to come in and halt any attacks on Scotland by the British state, by the Westminster regime. Independence has to be homemade, has to be self-made, and that's the principle of self-determination, which is in the UN Charter of Nations. Now, principles are all fine, but we have to exercise it, and it is encouraging to see things moving that way. Certainly, it is something that we have to do. So what I'll do is I think I'll play my song Scots Way now, because we've got some technical issues we're getting set up here, and then what we'll do is we'll finish with Scotty's piece in a minute. Okay, so here's Scots Way. Oh no, I've not to sing my song. Obviously, we're just we're doing what we can here and getting by. But actually, Ross took us down a walk at I'm getting moaned at. Ross took us a walk for Bannockburn House Trust. Took us a walk down to basically what is dungeons of this house. I know it's not dungeons, but it's quite like it, Ross, isn't it? The old the servants' quarters, and I tell you, it's spooky. I had a look online. If you have a look online, there is some information about the Bannockburn House in terms of the supernatural activities. But down in that basement, I don't know if anybody, I'll just wait, it's a rhetorical question. I take it people have been to the Edinburgh Vaults. Yep, some people have. And that was fantastic, but so eerie, isn't it, if you've been to the Edinburgh Vaults. And it's very much like that down there, but it's just a history, and it just needs a light of day shone upon it, and some new people, and before you know it, things are back to normal in a new way. So I'm rambling, and I'm rambling. Sorry. Right. Okay. All right. So I have to say, I'm getting my instructions as we go. So, hello, Scotty. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Not bad.
You ready? Yeah. Keep talking. How are you doing, Scotty?
Just great. I'm ready whenever anybody else is.
You're ready to rock and roll. Well, look at that banners behind you. Nemo, what does that say? Nemo, Mem Pune.
Don't know, it's in Latin or something like that.
It's a Latin, aye. A bonny banner. Right, so I'm just waiting on further. Yeah, we're good to go. So here we go with Scotty, and then back to me for Scots Way. Thanks for bearing with us there, and I hope I didn't annoy you.
Hello, my name's Scott MacDonald. I come from Scotland, and unfortunately I don't speak any Scottish languages. I was brought up in an area of Scotland where they had no Gaelic, an area called Kilsyth and Comernault. Now, I'd always wanted to speak Gaelic, but you know how things are, you just never get round and get the time to do things. But that's all changed now, thanks to a new drink I've discovered, Galicade. Now, you can buy it in the Highlands, and I just discovered it not a week or two ago, and it really works. A couple of sips of this and you can be fluent in Gaelic in seconds. So I mean, the best way to do it is I'll just take a wee sip and I'll show you how it works. I think it's going to be available in other languages as well. Oh, that's good. Well, it doesn't start to work right away, but if you get a wee minute or two, you know, then you can almost feel something happening. I think it's starting to work. I think it's starting to work, Marha. Oh, smashing. Oh, ha, Gaelic. It's starting to come into my head. Strupakilla. Oh, tubus 2 minutes no ga ha chicken hook at Karskilior. Oh, smashing. Hey, ma via Sean and Alta Volik Maha. Oh, Gavin Strupakilla high ho blaster. Facklin ac am yn eistedd yn helicopter agus stof microwave amser gael y cydjach. Oh, hai ho blaster I gas. Ach, ik dydig la sgas gyfal me feeling to answer Gaelic, mari yn minutes no ga. Wel, ha me a farchen, ho gaelig yn eistedd, ha me doleg a loran. Patrick Post. Oh no, dat ga je nog zijn. I maak eens een bottle heen. Wel, a hun ga tri. O'r gydyn yw trwy mi nach a lac a trys rym, bwylwch a bwylwch bagba, gyda'n am ciol mi, sgan gydibio mi, gymylwch a gydoiol y spors am a halaf, gyda'n yn chylwyt mi y fer, yn chylwyt y fer mi ein a coronavirus. No, mae gyrwch ystyn yn ila a coronavirus. Yn dŵr a coronavirus. Dŵr. Wel, yn je hwyr mi tiachgar ac yn laif o'n acym. Agus haid a gra dir Scott. Fi mi tu a dol gan the clinic sy'n check-up. COVID-19. Chrwys am gyda'n tynnym a bair y fal y chytcher. Ach, cryw, ha mi jeisiol yn drasta, agos ha mi'n docus gybi eich I falet. Eich I fa, sieri.
So just before I play my song, let's just wrap up this show. It's been a fantastic evening. I've really enjoyed myself and I hope you have too. Now there's two important things there's three things I want to talk to you about in terms of all under one banner. Now the first thing, as I've said already, and just to repeat it, just so everybody understands, has to be very clear about this, that we have a rally, a static rally for independence next Thursday at Pacific Quay outside the BBC headquarters at 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Now, we had it at George Square, but we've changed it because it's just too big an issue. We can't let this go on. We can't let this stand. BBC bias, BBC corruption, trying to thwart vital information getting out to the population of Scotland from the First Minister's briefings. It's unacceptable, and we will go there to protest against it. Now, it's very safe. This is the third static rally for independence. As you know, it's not. As you can see, it's not a march. It's not a mass gathering, so you can just forget about that altogether. This is a very controlled event, and we've already heard two successful ones. We announced on the 23rd of June at the Scottish Parliament that we would do one of these static rally events per month for Scottish independence until the times that we can safely march again, and that is exactly what we are going to do. The first one was at the 20th of July, Edinburgh, at the Scottish Parliament, and that was a great success. We got some fantastic photos and imagery that were used by press of all persuasions, and this is very important right now, as you know, not just all under one banner, but the Yes Movement's activities provide great images and representations that show how positive and how friendly and inclusive we are. And this represents the nature of the independent Scotland that we're going to create. And it's exactly the same thing, but in a microcosm that we're doing just now at the static rallies. And this is what we must persist with. We've got to do what we can do. So after Bannockburn on the 19th of August, the third static rally is this Thursday, as I've said. And if you've registered, great. You've had it confirmed, we will be in touch with you again soon to provide you with up-to-date details. However, don't worry, if you haven't registered, tomorrow we will what was I going to say? We'll restart the registration process until we're at a limit that is safely can be safely managed, and that will be confirmed. And you've only to attend. This is very important. You've only to attend if you've had your registration confirmed. But we're sure that the Yes Movement is very responsible, and they will adhere to this request from us. The second thing to talk about is our Zoom shows, our Zoom events on Friday night, which have been going down a treat. So there'll be more of that from us to come, and more static rallies, one a month. And there'll be one more of these shows. It'll be the hashtag AUOB Edinburgh Ceilidh in 3 weeks' time. So we're looking forward to that. But tonight, what a great show, great guests, great music, and the pipers have been fantastic. I hope you've had a lovely time watching it, either on the night live or afterwards. Again, get your hashtag, get your tweets out and post hashtag AUOB Stirling Ceilidh. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll now play Scots Wahey. Scots Wahey, where wall is split, Scots one Bruce has often led. Welcome to your gory bed, or to victory. Now's the day and now's the year. See the front of battle there. See approach through Edward's pearl, chains and slavery. War would be a traitor name, was a base as be a slave. War would fill a coward's grave, let him turn free. War for Scotland's king and lord, freedom's sword was strongly drawn. Free man stand, or free man fall, let him on with me. Oh, by oppression's woes and pains, for our sons in servile chains, we will drain our dearest veins, but they shall be free. Lay the proud usurper low, tyrants fall in every foe, liberties in every blow, let us do or be. Oh, lay the proud usurper low, tyrants fall in every foe, liberties in every blow, let us do or be. Scots Wahey. Good night.